Hello, everybody. This is Brad Reed. I am a real life trader, and I'm here reminding you to be good. And by good, I mean get out of debt and achieve your financial dreams and give generously to your community. We've been having a ton of fun in the first 2 hours, talked about Star Wars. I had some really, really funny jokes, and by funny jokes, I mean people were just like groaning and moaning, and they don't even have microphones, and I could still hear them moaning at my really bad jokes, but still had a lot of fun. Um, Let us jump into analyzing markets. Markets had a very interesting day. This is on a 5-minute chart, but you can see it swooped, was bearish for most of the day, then had a pretty strong comeback. Let's see what it's going to look like on the daily. I would get excited about the way this candle looks as far as being hammer-ish, but this candle has changed shape so many times today. Yesterday, let's see, I guess I was talking about how it being relatively low volume, but that was at the beginning of the show. Looks like the volume picked up nicely by the end of the time period. Um, I am more bullish than bearish on the market, especially after this candle. We'll see how it shapes up. But if this candle finishes as a bullish white candle with the tail down to the 20, I'd say we are ready to continue back up towards the high here. What would be just absolutely beautiful and perfect is if tomorrow we have some really tiny little bullish candle here. And the reason that would be so neat is because we could put an entry at the end of the day tomorrow, maybe our stop below that 20 exponential moving average, and maybe still get like a 1-to-1 reward risk ratio. Or if you're trading options, you might be able to get something better. But if you want to go in bullish today, I could totally and completely understand why. Yeah, my outlook is more bullish than bearish on the SPY. I think we will come back up here and challenge this high at 213.75. So in fact, I'll just draw a line there. Nice little healthy rest, set higher lows. Yeah, I think we continue upwards. DIA, not quite so bullish looking as SPY, but actually I'd call that more indeterminate with, by indeterminate, I mean neutral, but slightly bullish based on that long lower wick. Volume not as nice as it was on the SPY, but yeah, overall, I like it. This low is higher than this low, so until this low gets taken out, I am neutral to bullish. Let's see if I can turn on the Bollinger Bands. See, I think if I turn this off, I get better spacing. I do. Bollingers are really wide, really wide. So this thing could settle down and calm down a little bit, but both of the bands are angled upwards. So that, again, they're wide, so this thing could go sideways. They're both angled upwards, so they,
Well, I
interesting how
lost
this
your.
is,
Oh, you're back.
yay. Do I need to go back and re-say anything? Or was it all just worthless, mindless dribble?
Might have just been me.
All right. Well, I will keep going. If you guys are on the floor, if I missed anything, feel free to type it in, and I'll go back and fill in whatever got cut out. But otherwise, I did hit record, didn't I? Yes, the record button is flashing. Okay, sorry about that. I actually recorded a video 3 or 4 times the other day because I had my mute button on. And I said, darn it, let me try it again. And I had the mute button on again. So anyways, making sure I got everything right. Continuing on with the NASDAQ, made a relative high and had a small, neat little pullback. So for me, if we push higher, why not get in? If this meets with your trading plan, we can definitely put to buy a put accused here. Where's protective put? There it is. I like this level because it's slightly below the bottom of this wick. And let's see, I'll make sure it's below the top of this one. So the high there is 108.38. So I'll slide this down to 108.35 or thereabouts. Pretty soon we'll have this 50 exponential moving average in our favor for this thing to push further up. And you know, if it gets down, where do we want to put our stop? I guess we could put our stop down here, just below the 100 simple. That's a long ways for the stop, but realize if it does come this far, you are going to be picking up some profit from that from the protective put. And believe you can move your stop up very quickly if this thing triggers, because I would anticipate this thing to break north and then come back and do a rollover and then maybe go up again. So if you're a retest kind of person, maybe you want to look for a bullish candle right here. If you're a breakout person, you could buy in here, and then once it does do this retest, move your protective put up, move your stop up, take some loss off the table. Notice every time this thing does set a new high, it rolls and it rolls and it rolls. So be prepared for it to do something like that again, depending on, yeah, well, just depending on how it moves. Cool. That is QQQ. Just we looked at bull put spreads yesterday, and there's absolute premium. So I will not waste your time with that. Some people were day trading Express today. It was mean to me, but good to some. The Russell 2000 does not look insanely bullish to me. This is a interesting location where this candle stopped. It stopped on that pivot point, indicating that that may hold. We are making higher lows nicely. This lower high has me concerned. So I think before I would go bullish on the IWM, I would want a move higher than that lower high. So I like these higher lows here. You might even be able to do something like a protective put there, or below the wick of this guy, and then a stop right down there. Now the interesting thing about this stop is that when this trigger triggers, when this trigger fills, I should say, this 100 moving average will be moved to above the stop. So you'll have both this rotation, this pivot point, and the 100 simple in your favor if this triggers. I think, I anticipate. Questions, thoughts, opposing views, type them in. We did see a couple of interesting setups today. Stillwater Mining Company has a very interesting bounce off of the 100 simple moving average. It stopped right at the 200. This thing is going sideways for some time and some sort of very long accumulation phase. If you look at all of this, we were talking a little bit about a strategy that I am going to be back testing soon. Right now it's completely hypothetical, but if you have a stock that's going sideways, like Stillwater Mining Corporation is going sideways, you can draw a zone up in the top let's see, top area, something like that. And then draw another line slightly higher than that. And then you can also do something very similar to the bottom, which in this case would, why does it keep moving? Would look something along these lines. Da, 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 da. And that one would be greenish, and this one would be greenish as well. Okay, so what I've done is I've drawn a support zone and I've drawn a resistance zone. And basically the strategy says when the stock leaves the support zone, so in fact, now that I'm looking at it, I have to drag this down to about there and this down to about there as well. And this up to about there and this up to about there. And so basically the strategy says if it leaves the support zone, you buy, and you sell as soon as it enters the resistance zone. As it leaves the resistance zone, you sell and you buy when it's to the support zone. When it leaves the support zone, you buy it and you sell it when it enters the resistance zone, and when it leaves the resistance zone, you buy it. Right, you guys got it. And this one was actually long hold, but eventually you would have sold there. But your entry would be the bottom of the zone that it's leaving, and your stop would go up here at the top. So stop there, stops up here just outside that red line, and your stops for the bullish orders would be just below this green line. A channel trading strategy that you guys can use. Now, granted, I'm letting you know again, I have not yet back tested this, nor have I virtually tested it, nor have I done it with real money. It's purely a concept right now. But if it's a concept that applies to you, feel free to test it before you trade it with real money. And I was going to show you, yeah, if you come over here to reallifetrading.com, click on articles. Right here, 7 Steps to Building Your Own Trading Strategy is an article that I wrote that will tell you step by step how to take a strategy like I just drew and back test it, virtual test it, and really lock it down so you have very specifics on a strategy that you can trade with real money. So check out that article for any strategy that you're doing, but that is an idea there. Groovy. Now, based on that, the question is, do we want to get in bullish if this thing has a close over the 200 SMA? And I guess I'd say it depends on your trading plan. I say that a lot. Let me get rid of these drawing tools and take a look at this from a different point of view. And as far as getting in with a close over this, I really do think I'd wait till it takes out this high. But this is the first time it will be getting over the 200 simple moving average in a long time. So for SWC, I would put an entry if it gets over, let's call it this high, which is 1537. So close over 1537. That may be waiting too long. I guess it depends on your trading plan. That would be a very safe entry. You are going to miss some of this move, but if it does come back down and get below the, if it triggers that and gets below the 200 simple average, that'd be a great place for a protective put. And then your stop could go at the bottom of the swing here. Yeah, I was going to say the 100, maybe the 100, it's not respecting the 100 simple very well. So maybe stop down, something like that. Based on how this thing moved last time, you would have a number of targets in here. Target 1 there. Target 2 there. And the ultimate target would be somewhere up in here. Notice this very nice double top that this thing formed before it fell. A lot of folks sometimes are still asking, hey, Brad, what's it going to look like when the market tanks with this 10 to 30% correction that all of the scary news people are talking about to try and make you scary and try and make you follow their comments, but it'll look something like that, spread out over a couple of weeks or months maybe. At any rate, those are my thoughts on Stillwell Mining Company. I am more bullish to bearish. It'll be interesting to see if we get a reversal here just on 15. That would be the only thing that would really make me change my mind and go back to that channel trading strategy. Questions, thoughts, opposing views on Stillwater Mining? Type them in. Otherwise, we're going to go take a look at Caterpillar, which was forming, and it looks like it is going to continue forming a very significant bearish candle. That's a pink line. Let me get rid of that. Sorry, that was an accident. With another bearish candle on Caterpillar, I would be, let's see, I would entertain a bearish move back down to 78-ish. I am cautious just because I am so bullish to neutral on the market, but the only thing that would give me cause to pause is this 100 simple moving average. Without that, I would definitely entertain a bearish entry on Caterpillar there, but that 100 is going to be in the way. It didn't seem to even stop or pause on the way up, so it may not care on the way down, but honestly, I'm almost thinking that this candle today was a retest of all of this stuff, and I think we go bullish tomorrow or next week. That being said, if we get a new white soldier or some kind of bullish candle on Caterpillar, you might be able to sneak in a very nice bullish trade if this thing goes back up to the 90 pivot point, or maybe even up to the 200 SMA. Caterpillar will be one to watch going forward. Questions, thoughts, opposing views on Caterpillar? General Motors was one that some people were day trading today. It had a very nice bullish gap. As we come into this pivot point here at 36.60, I would like this thing to go sideways just a little bit, retest that 100 simple, maybe even roll back down to that gap that is a retest gap. So give it time to retest, maybe a gentle roll down and then back up would be nice. And if that happens, we can go bullish on General Motors. My dad, I think, was saying that it goes ex-dividend on June 8th. So if you are in it on June 8th, you are likely to receive a small dividend. But this 36 area is a strong pivot point on General Motors. And if we do get a move over that, I would be much more bullish than bearish. As far as bull put spreads, maybe, well, I was way down here. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not going to waste time with the bull put spread. If you a longer term bull put spread down below 35.50, if you can get premium there, I wouldn't more than about 3 weeks, but that would be an amazing location if you can get a 34.50 or even $34 bull put spread on General Motors, because I am bullish on it. If we're looking at General Motors, we can also look at Ford. Didn't really anything too crazy exciting. We have the setup here. I like the fact that it's resting here. I would much rather it rest and go sideways before it triggers the order that we put. But yeah, everything still looks good for that directional trade on Ford. Norfolk Southern Corporation is just running bearish. By the way, if you have, let me go back in and give another perspective on General Motors. If you are currently in General Motors, I think a stop or or protective below this 200 simple moving average. I think I'd have a protective put maybe up here at 35, 39, because I think if we do get a move below there, it will likely come back down to the 200. Covered call at 37 or 37.50 if there's premium on would be a very nice thing. Now you could get premium on a covered call and premium on a dividend if you have shares. I really like that play if you are owning shares of generators. If you are already in Ford, if you are in Ford and you're bullish, I would certainly have some sort of protective put or stop placement down below 15.14. If you're in Ford and you are bearish, I think any kind of stop where the 200 simple moving average is or a protective call would be in order. Okay, going back to C now. I'm going to take this off the table if I can. There we go. Today is a nice day clearing that pivot. I'm not excited to go bearish on this, basically because of how fast it's been moving bearish. So now is not the time to get in. Let's wait for a more significant roll. We do have two pivot points that it is at now, around 92.75. Let's see, the low of this one is 92. Sorry, I got to move it just a little bit. 92.69. 92.70 is close enough for this picture. So I like taking it bearish, but I really need it to go sideways for a little bit. It needs to rest. Let's see if it's getting outside the band or walking the Bollinger Band. So it has come away from the band just a tiny bit. It'd be interesting to see if there's a divergence indicating that it is in fact resting. And that is what we see. So I'm seeing this, and I'm also seeing this. And then, gosh, whatever that is. So if you are in bearish on NSC, wanting it to go further, I think it's time to tighten your stops or tighten your defense, whatever method that would be. Yeah, okay. So NSC, I would hesitate, wait till it goes sideways before entering bearish on NSC. Questions, thoughts, opposing views, type them in. Otherwise, I'm going to go on to some other stocks we like to trade. Wait, I've got one written down here. HLK. Why did I write that down? HLK is an invalid symbol. Maybe it was ALK. Alaska Air Group. I don't remember looking at this one recently, but this one definitely looks sideways. Looks like a great candidate for that sideways swing strategy I was talking about earlier. You know, you could draw one zone right about there, another zone right along the bottom of those, and then similarly across the top, something about there, and then there. The 100 just come and it really hasn't reacted to that at all. This pivot point right through the middle appears to be fairly meaningless, so I'm going to take that one off. So I guess you could get in very soon, on Alaska Air with a stop. So I guess your entry would be 63.50-ish, your stop would be 61.50-ish, and your target would be 68. Actually, my target would be 67.50 because that would be right at 2R. It would be a little bit on the short side of the zone the way I've drawn it, but the fact that the fact that it is making lower highs would, you know, give me cause to lower my selling point, but that would still be 2R if you could get in at 63.50, which is like now. Templates, trigger, intraday. And then I would put a stop right here. And then my target somewhere up here. And then one other thing I want to experiment with this strategy is what happens if we, instead of doing directional shares, we do directional options? Or what if we buy shares here and immediately sell a short-term call up here? So basically get paid to sell it at the target. I don't know, just some variations, things for you to play with. Of course, you can also do bear call spreads and bull put spreads. And I wonder if it would have a decent premium on a bull put spread at 62. Okay. Options. Why do I think I'm about to sneeze in everyone's ear? Let's see, it looks like Juneteenth is the earliest I can on an option. So I would not hate a 60 bull put spread. That is a long time though. If you sold 60 and you bought the 55, you would get, let's see, you buy the 55 strike at 15 cents, you would sell the 60 strike for 53 cents. So that's 38 cents. It's not quite 10%, and you don't have the 200 simple moving average in your favor. So you could consider doing a 60, 55 bull put spread. If you get a move below 61.27, that would be my line in the sand, and I would do my to unravel, because I believe if it does come down to here, it will likely continue at least to the 200. If there was shorter term options, I would make that an official trade for the floor, but other than that, sorry about that, guys. I have my phone turned on in case people post trades for me to take a look at. Yeah, so I do kind of like a 60-55 bull put spread on Alaska Air. It'll pay about 8%. If it gets below the bottom of this candle, which is 61.35, if you get a convincing move below 61.35, I would unravel or close out, but I kind of like that setup on ALK. Right, moving on. Tesla's slowing down just a little bit at a nice area. Looks like a close above this pivot area was buyable and would have returned a nice little trade. Let's see what it looks like on the weekly. Yeah, it looks very bullish on the weekly. It is slowing down though. Coming up to a target around 260. So the 260 target is going to be somewhere up in here if you are in. If you're not in, I get the idea that this thing is going to roll over and maybe retest this pivot point. So look for a candle pattern kind of like that over here pretty soon. And I'm going to go check for divergence. I know it's going to be there, or I anticipate it being there, and there is the divergence. So we have these peaks that are going down. Let me get an easier color to see. And of course, that's been going up while it's got divergence, and kind of the same thing there. So basically all this means, this divergence means, is that the momentum is running out of the stock. And it makes sense because it just cleared a pivot, and these things have their ups and the downs, and it's time for a down. So I think it comes back and it retests 238.75 or 235.50, and then a bounce off of that would be viable on Tesla. Questions, thoughts, opposing views? All right, I will move on to Tata Motors. This one also had an interesting gap. Still just kind of recovering from that gap 2 days ago. Placed a trigger here. That's a blue line. Sorry for that. I love the fact that it's resting here, meaning that when it does trigger, if it does trigger this, if it does fill our trigger here, it'll have some nice energy to continue down. So still, I'd like this to go sideways for another day or two or a week, and then break that trigger, and I think it will move nicely and aggressively downwards. American Airlines is a transportation stock. Again, a big bearish move on American Airlines. And there's a pivot point in here somewhere around there that it is respecting. Had some sideways motion here, big bearish day, sideways motion here. What we'd really like this thing to do is to go sideways in through here long enough for this exponential moving average to come down. And when that exponential moving average comes down, then I think a great opportunity to place an entry there. Let's see, that's not what I wanted to do. Then maybe we can have some sort of target like that with a protective call like that, and then have a stop up here around the exponential moving average. This thing would be too nice if we could get a 46 bear call spread on American Airlines. Okay, obviously not for tomorrow. Let's go out, see what we can do for 1 week. Nothing doing for 1 week. 2 weeks, maybe more like it. Let me look at the picture one more time. 46 will be above that 200. 46 is below this pivot point here. So if I were doing anything longer than that, I'd want 47. And you could sell the 47. Sorry, that's last. 10 and 12. That'd be 10. You could sell it for 11, but you'd have to buy it for 7. So that's only a 4% return for over 2 weeks. The monthly would be June 19th. And you could sell it for 18 Wow, that's still only 5%. Yeah, not worth it. Okay. I kind of like this on American Airlines. If it goes sideways for a while, gives this 10 EMA a chance to come down. If it breaks too soon, then it would not have the bearish edge I would need to risk an R. So let's take a look at Southwest Airlines. Amazingly similar to American Airlines. So I'm going to amazingly similar pattern. Consider a trigger, and let's see, I'm gonna scoot this over just a little bit because I want it to wait a while. I want this thing to go sideways, let any weak bears close out their positions, let that 10 EMA come in. But if it does reverse, I would consider a protective call, maybe all the way up to there. And then certainly up here would be a strong place for a stop. That would be my Southwest Airlines trade. I don't really like that one as much as I like American Airlines. So I would give this one a little bit more time. Are there any other transportation stocks you guys want me to take a look at? Nike is kind of a transportation stock. We were talking about it yesterday. Little indecision looking doji right on that as the 50 EMA comes in. So I still like the plan that we have here. Wait for this thing to go sideways here at the 102 area, maybe even a bounce off the 50 EMA, but look for a bullish thrust or a little gap to see if this thing can go higher or back up to this topping pattern there. We were looking at Skechers today. That's actually a fairly nice resting pattern. I have another, another swing strategy, one that I'm actually testing now. And it basically says if a stock goes sideways for a little bit, like Skechers did through here, then gaps out of that sideways pattern, that you can buy at the open and stop either 1% of the stock price lower or halfway into the gap. When I was back testing it, I was winning 50% of the time, and the average return on all of the data that I tested was about 1.5 R's. That includes the winners and the losers. That's not just the winners. So the average, I guess I call that trade expectancy, is 1.5 R. But every now and then one like this. And on this one, my entry would have been right there at 81.81. The stop would have been either halfway into the gap or 1%. So 1% would have been right down here at 81. So that would have been my stop. 2R would have been about there. So I would have sold half there, sold the other half when it comes in contact with the 10 EMA. So it would have sold half there. So that would have been about a 10R trade on just one trade in about 1 month. And so I did a similar trade on Netflix, and I guess we can go take a look at that next. Also would have been a very, very profitable trade. Well, granted, I'm still in the virtual phase of testing that, but that is a swing trade strategy that I am looking into. This could be a very beautiful rest after battle type formation. The high there is 107.71. The high there is 107.71. Okay, so these things have stopped to the penny at 107.71. Sometimes on a continuation pattern, you can put your entry when it gets above it. Intraday, but I'll leave it for you guys to decide if you want to get in intraday or wait for a close above this. But a trigger end of day there would be nice. A protective put nice and tight right up in there. And then the stop, I would put the stop right underneath that little tiny gap there. I really like this move, that trade on Skechers. Let's check the RSI and Stokes to see if it's rested and pulled back enough. RSI is still high, so I'd like it to go sideways for another day or two, but Stokes showing some divergence here. Stokes is not the best tool for diverge, but the rest that it has now is that divergence playing out. RSI did not show that divergence. I want to take a look at MACD and the Bollingers because this just looked really, really nice. If there's anything that I'm missing, love the cross there. That shows a rest. And the Bollingers, please Bollinger Bands be coming in. Okay, Bollinger Bands are not coming in. But they are both angled upwards. I would like this trade even more if this thing wait until that 20 moving average comes in and then go up. I doubt that happens though. Honestly, I think this thing will trigger in the next day or two. But that's the trade on Skechers XKX. That is one of my favoritist trades. Pat Coffin says, what is the entry? 108.36. On Skechers, yeah, anything above 107.71. I think I have 109.26 drawn here. You could bring that down slightly, but it just kind of depends on what your trading says to do. I guess what I'm calling out is that this pattern here looks like a rest after battle, looks like a bullish continuation pattern. Skechers had a very strong run, so this rest gives it room to move some more. And I like Skechers going bullish from here. I see KSU up here. Is that Kansas State University or bearish entry? Oh, okay. Kansas City Southern. Okay, come on, chart. Okay, so this is kind of what, this is the inverse of what I'd be looking for from Skechers. Here's the sideways move I saw on Skechers. Of course, this is a bearish chart instead of a bullish chart, but let Skechers go sideways, kind of like KSU did. And then Skechers, of course, I hope it to pop bullish. This one has been bearish, but if you can take this chart and flip it upside down, that's what I would like to see from the previous one. So I do think an entry now would be suitable as long as it, yeah, it's 343. So as long as it stays below this one, which is 92.63. We're at 92.63. Yeah, I do. I like an entry. Go bearish any second now. Actually, let me look at the hourly on this to see what that retrace looks like. So I'm going to move this to 92.02. I'm going to move to 91.99 or 91.98. With a close below 91.98 today, I would be more bearish than bullish. And then I'm going to adjust my picture here a little bit. That's why I'm pausing. This would either be a ripe place for a stop or a protective put, because this thing could very easily go sideways. I'm just going to trigger, mark that with a stop. And let's see if this has rested or pulled back enough. It has. So I like where RSI and this are. Yeah. Cool. What do you guys think may be gapping before the opens tomorrow? Go ahead and type those in and I'll take a look. Pat Kaufman says UNP, another rail chugging down. UNP. Steven Jackson, is that GameStop? Are they doing earnings soon? Like, AKA love this pattern we're seeing on Union Pacific. Big bearish candle move, rest, the EMAs come in and are pushing it down. I would wait for a bearish move below here. I would almost do an intraday on this one, just because this really looks bearish to me. And then I'm trying to figure out if I'd probably do a protective put up here, or protective call, excuse me, if that's in your trading plan. I should confess to you guys that I do not do protective calls and protective puts. I just do stops. It's a concept I learned from Jeremy Newsom not too long ago, but it's nothing I have tested yet. And one of my trading plan rules says, follow your own advice that you give to other students. So I cannot do a protective call or protective put unless I back test it and virtual test it according to that article that I just showed you. So currently, where it says protective calls, I would just have a stop. Okay, check out GME. GameStop. Yeah, I was going to have earnings, I guess, after close today. If it gaps up, it would be a retest gap. And there's a couple of small pivots in here. I think I'd be interested in it if it gets above 41.73. Now, if it gaps down, that would be a gap and go. So I think if it gaps down below 38.42, excuse me, 36.42. No, 38.42 is what I meant. Then I would consider day trading that thing bearish. So 41.73 if it gaps above that, or if it gets below 38.42. I would much rather it gapped down, because not only would that gap and go, but it would also be gapping down below the simple moving averages. So I like GME. Let me take these off the list. I'm going to try and clean things up here just a tiny bit. So ACT, I'm glad we put our stop where we did. Express looks like rolled back up, but never finished getting above the pivot point. Of course, who knows what's going on. Johnny, yeah, I let you know. Now it says 1740. Okay, so Express showed a small bounce, but never really finished it. IDTI looks like that trade never would have triggered. And then I wanted to see what the SPY is doing at the end of the day. So the SPY is breaking above this pivot and is holding, which is more bullish than bearish to me. DIA didn't quite break above the pivot. Okay, so nothing really that I'm seeing now that would make me change what we said earlier about the indexes. Okay, more stocks that are gapping. FRO, what is that? Frontline? Frontier Airlines? No, Frontline. Does have great volume. This will be one, if it's up, I will use for my swing trading strategy. Oh, it's too low dollar. So this is a $3 stock, so it'll be a little bit more challenging to day trade, but an entry, if it gaps up above 313, this thing could move upwards. As far as a gap down, anything below 217. Actually, that would be a terrifically large gap. So your call if you want to take it bearish. Actually, I'm just going to leave it there to go bullish. And again, that front line will not meet with many people's trading plans because it is under a $5 stock. Lots. If this thing gaps above that 100 simple moving average, it would be a very nice gap and go. Notice this thing traded below 200 simple moving average, rolled back up, the 200 held, and has now continued lower. So I believe there are active traders that are bearish on this, so a gap up would be trapping people. So I'm going to draw that line at 47.15. A gap above that, I think, would be interesting to trade up. 48.53 is going to be a significant target. I would much rather it just open above 48.53, but I don't always get what I want. Now, if this thing were to gap down below 44.33 would be a nice retest gap. And I'm not sure if I've said it on the recording, but I am out of day trades for the month, so I will likely be taking the morning off, chilling on the couch, watching a movie. Maybe I'll go run some errands, get a haircut. I definitely need a haircut. I might be doing some of that real life stuff. All right. The next one is AVGO. We were looking at that one today for a day trade. A little bit of a bearish today. Look like Angie, if you're there, or Johnny, if you're there, would you verify earnings on AVGO? Because I think we thought they were going to happen yesterday or this morning.
Okay, I'm on it.
Thank you, ma'am. If it does gap up tomorrow, I would like it to gap above 145.47. That would be a gap and go with some flavor. I don't think people are going to be trapped because most of the bearish activity on this candle are bullish traders closing out. If it does gap down.
That is so odd. Okay, Earnings Whispers says earnings not applicable for AVGO Technologies.
Interesting. Well, I guess if it gaps,
Verified
it gaps
3
for
times.
any reason.
Pat must know more than me on that one. AVGO. Yep.
I know Pat knows more than me, but Angie, you're freakishly smart. I'm not going to be interested in this unless it gets below 114.56. I should say that I'm not interested in trading it bearish unless it gaps down to below 114.56. But the problem with that is that becomes like a 20% gap. Lots of people would be trapped. You know what? I do think it goes down to the 200. So I will draw the 200 simple moving average. Oh my gosh, I gotta go faster, running out of time. 9. Okay. Next is deck. Oh my gosh, there's a bunch to that. Deck moving bearish. If it has a move below this wick here, 69.93, I would be excited to take it bearish on a retest gap. If it goes bullish above this guy, I would be excited to trade that bullish as a gap go. 76.12. Nice. Not that, that. Realize on deck, it only trades 740,000 shares a day on average. So if that does not meet your trading plan, wait. Ulta, oh my gosh, love this sideways consolidation pattern. This one is another great candidate for my swing trading. Oh, maybe that's what I'll do in the morning. Instead of taking the day off, I'll take the day off of day trading, but I will swing trade. The high here is 158.97. And by the way, I will not be publishing trades on Monday, June 1st. Got a worker coming over to the house, and of course he wants to be here at 9 o'clock, which is when I do all my research. But if you want to know how I do my research, I have an article published on YouTube. So go over to YouTube and search Brad Reed Real Life Trading Gap Research, and you can see how I do my gaps. This would be a gap and go. I would bet it takes out that 100 simple, but that would be my target. I think once it gets to this 100 simple moving average, I would be done with it. A boom, 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 boom. Speaking of, I heard BB King died not too long ago. If you don't know, BB King is an amazing blues guitarist, and I actually had the fortune of getting to meet him. Really, really nice, humble guy. Really humble guy. I was actually in an award ceremony, and my band was getting some awards, and he was getting an award behind us, and my the photographer comes up and says, "Brad, that's BB King behind you." And I looked at him and said, "Yeah, right. Like I'm gonna be anywhere near BB King." And he's like, "Dude, it's BB King." And I turned around and I was like, "Hi, how you doing?" And I looked up. They had a projector on the ceiling so that everyone could get in the right order. And I was just like, "Oh!" I turned around. I said, "You're BB King." He said, "Yes, I am." And I was like, "I'm a fan." He's like, "Well, thank you," and shook his hand. And photographer saw that I was just like a bumbling idiot and said, "Hey, Mr. King, could we get a photo with you and young Brad here?" Because I think at that time I was like 24, 25, and so he's like, "Absolutely." I mean, we took some. He's just a great guy. And then I was so starstruck, I had no questions to ask him. At any rate, great guy, wonderful guitarist. If Vive gaps above 29.09, I would love a bullish retest gap. As far as anything bearish, I don't like it just because there's so much congestion, no really clear pivots for it to jump down. I would be more concerned of a fade if it's down. So that is Vive. It's coming up on 4 o'clock. Do you guys think I should continue running through the rest of these stocks, or should we end it on time? Or is that just a ridiculous question to ask? Angie, what do you think? Is it okay to go over if I'm looking at these gaps for tomorrow?
I guess it depends on what the general consensus is. They're the brains, right?
You're the brains.
That's what they, if that's what they want and you have more in you, then we're just here to satisfy them. Pat
These
wants
people
to
can
know
always log on.
what was
Go
your
ahead.
band name? What was
I
your
was in a
band
band
name?
called Matson Bell, Matson Belle, and like a year after we were getting some success, there was a movie that came out, and there is like a swimmer. The main character's name was Madsen Bell, and oh man, the leader of the band, who had like copyrighted Madsen Bell. Oh no, she hadn't copyrighted Madsen Bell at that time. She got so mad. A gap above 27.35. I would be interested in trading that back up because I think it would have lots of room to go. As far as anything bearish, I guess something below the 200 simple moving average there at 26.78. Okay, guys, my plan is to run through 3 more stocks after this one. So if you got to go, I understand. There will be a recording. If you are watching the recording, I'm going to go. I'm going to keep going. So I hope this does not offend anyone. And if Jeremy Newsom wants me to stop, he should tell me to stop. He's not here. So I can do whatever I want. So that's why I'm basically blaming it on Angie if I get in trouble.
Hey!
Angie, you know I'm not going to take responsibility for anything.
Apparently. Wow, it's just like around my house. It's all my
Oh,
fault.
I'm so
Ouch.
sorry, Angie. I love you, Angie.
That's all right. I can handle it. I'm strong.
You know what? No, I will take responsibility. And if Jeremy Newsom says, Brad, I told you not to go along, I'll be like, you weren't there to tell me to stop. Don't go on vacation, ever. Actually, though, he did go on vacation with real life traders, and he and I vacationed in Chicago with some real life traders, and that was epic. Okay, so SPLK, I don't really like any gaps down. If it gaps up above 71.50, I really like it because it's got room to go. Next. Pat, no, I'm like a bottle of vinegar. I don't mature at all. But thank you for that. You're only young once, but you can be immature forever. Infobox, BLOX, this one only trades 500,000 shares a day, so I'm just moving on. If it goes higher than 26.48 and you like blocks, you can trade it bullish. If it goes below 22.58, which is yeah, I'll just draw it. If it gets below this pivot point here, trade it bearish. If it gets above the high of yesterday, I would be looking for a bullish trade. Okay, keep going. Last one, QUNR. Easy one is if it gaps down below 42.65, I would be very interested in looking for a bearish trade, bearish retest gap. But if it goes bullish, where oh where? I guess that would be a gap and go. I'll say 50.22. What's the high of that candle? 50.29. If it gaps above 50.29, I would consider I'd consider a gap and go on QUNR, Cunard Cayman Islands Limited. Interesting, 50.29. Okay, that's the show, guys. Thanks for being here. I apologize if I messed anyone up by going over, but I love getting to trade with you guys. It really is the highlight of my day. That's horrible because I love my wife and kids. Um, but as far as work, I never ever fathomed that work could be so much fun. So thank you guys for making it fun. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching the video. For more videos like this, go to www.reallifetrading.com. And until I see you next time, trade on logic, not on hope.